Are you seeking for a way in which you can get wealthy quick? Are you looking for the easiest and the swiftest strategy to get rich? Are you convinced that these get rich quick strategies are not just schemes to draw you in and deny you that right of getting rich as it told you that it would provide you? Well, we're going to have a conversation about the concept and the idea of getting wealthy quick in this video. And so pull up a chair and let's get chatting. Welcome or welcome back to Ira Living. In this episode, we're going to be having a look at getting wealthy quick. Now, this phenomenon is going all over the place. Wherever you look on social media, you can see people talking about how they went from zero to millions in 6 months, in 12 months, in 18 months, and all sorts of different numbers that they're putting out there. Now, how much of this is true and how much of it isn't? In this episode, we're going to talk about the phenomenon of getting rich quick and whether or not this is something that is possible or if there are alternatives that we should embark upon. There are 3 philosophies or ideas that we're going to be exploring when we focus on the concept of the idea of getting rich quick or getting wealthy quick and whether or not that is something that is actually viable. The first one that we're going to be looking at is that there's no easy path to wealth building. If you're going to build wealth and you're genuinely going to build wealth, it's going to take time, it's going to take effort, and it's going to take energy. It's not going to be easy. And what you've got to do is to figure out what your vehicle of investment is that you're going to take and plan out how it is that you're going to get to that goal of wealth that you're seeking to aspire to do. It's going to require action that you're going to have to implement, and none of it is at any point going to be necessarily easy. By now, hopefully we realize that if being wealthy was easy, everybody would be doing it. So it is never going to be an easy path. And if somebody comes to you and tell you that they have an easy pathway for you to get there, I would be dubious of that person, and I would want to do the due diligence of investigating the approach that they're suggesting that I use and wanting to talk to people who have done so successfully so that I can make a constructive and informed decision about whether or not that's a pathway that I would want to take. Number 2, wealth is a strategic approach to investing. So the first thing that you want to do is to identify your vehicle of investment that you're going to be using, that pathway that you want to take in order to build your wealth. Once that is done, it needs to be strategically planned out. You need to be putting in actions in place that is going to ensure that you are gaining an increase in your equity that you're trying to build out in order to grow your wealth portfolio. And this requires you to spend the time, effort, and energy to understand the systems in which you are working. And of course, there are professionals for whom you can take advice, but what they do give is advice. The decisions are ultimately yours to make. And if you are one of those people who is going to go down the stock market for investment, even then you will need to investigate who is best as an investment firm to put your investment with. And for that, you will also need to do your due diligence to ensure that at the end of it, where your money is being invested is going to be getting the best returns that it can for you, because your money is being set in a place where it can work efficiently and effectively. Now, on the area of advice, for me to go and use an advisor, I would want to be absolutely sure that the person giving me the advice also is demonstrating in their daily living how their finances is pulled together properly. I'm not expecting them to be wealthy per se, but I'm expecting them to be implementing the same financial advice that they're giving me in their everyday living, so that they have their money and their wealth under control and they're investing. If they're splurging and spending, the advice that they would be giving me would be theoretical at best, because they have not implemented and practiced it in their everyday living, and therefore are not in a position to tell me matter-of-factly that that advice works or doesn't. Number 3, there are different levels to wealth. It doesn't need to be risky. When building out your wealth portfolio, it's important that you are clear ahead of time as to what you define as being wealthy for you, because somebody who has $1 million or £1 million would consider themselves to be wealthy in the same way somebody with £10 million or $10 million and somebody with 100 million and so on. So there are different levels of wealth, and you have got to be able to frame what level is suitable for you. The next thing that you need to frame when building out your wealth and deciding what level is suitable for you is also to think about your risk aversion. Different people have different levels of risk aversions. For some people, they can take high levels of risk, and so they can invest in volatile situations, whilst there are other people who have a significantly low level of risk, and so they need to invest in areas where they know they're going to get a steady return on their investment, and the money they're investing is at a low level of risk to be lost. And so it's important that you understand all of these different areas when you're seeking to build wealth, and the understanding that it is not going to be easy, but there are pathways that you can take that might bring you to your outcome a little bit quicker than others is important to understand. And we understand that by first understanding the different vehicles and the access to these vehicles and how much it requires for you to invest in order to open the doors to these different avenues. Because once you get yourself started on the ladder and you start to climb, it becomes easier and easier to build out. One of the things that we have for some people when they're building out their wealth is that they are unsure as to when they get to the stage when they need to go on autopilot, because the more they start to acquire is the more they want to push themselves to go further and further. So if you had set up from the beginning where you want your wealth level to be, it makes it a lot easier for you to choose autopilot when that time comes for you to know that you've achieved the wealth level that you were seeking to acquire. Remember, financial literacy is revolutionary. It has transformed my life, and I believe that it can do the same to yours.